The Southern Alberta Council on Public Affairs acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains, and we pay respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. We offer respect to the Métis and all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home.
So our speaker today is Troy Hicks, who will speak to us about downtown fire safety and what is everybody's role in fire prevention. Troy is the Chief Fire Marshal of the Lethbridge Fire and Emergency Services. Please join me in welcoming our speaker. Troy.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come here and speak. I know you guys know how the routine works here, so I got about 16 slides here to go over. I will go over them, and then I will stand here in the target zone, and I will be open for questions. And I look forward to them. I learn more when we're doing questions, just like everybody else does too. So, you know, it's pretty easy to listen to me, and then we go. So I will get going straight ahead, right forward. Let's go. I will do my City of Lethbridge one as well. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people, on the Canadian Plains, and pays respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The City of Lethbridge offers respect to the Métis and all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home. Thank you. Okay, so what we talk about is here is, as we all know, you know, we all have all different forms of social media, or we watch the news, or we do what we can. We see the amount of fires we do have here in the City of Lethbridge. And yes, over the years, it is on an upward path. The numbers have gotten more. 2023 probably being one of the busiest years that we've ever seen here. This is just a small thing off of our website that just shows some of the different fires that we have, you know, whether we have a dumpster fire, fire pits, or any type of calls, vehicle fires, sprinkler activation, all that stuff. We have numerous fires, and not just in the downtown core, all over the City of Lethbridge, pretty well daily. I do always say this, that I did join a career in a trade that I'll never be out of work. My goal is always through fire prevention and fire prevention education to minimize these fires, but as we all know, I mean, fires happen. You know, it's just like when I teach with young children, I always tell them, are fires a hazard or are they a good thing? And of course, they're always so adamant that they're such a hazard, but a fire is also a good thing too. You know, all you people eating your nice warm food, it's fire that keeps out warm. Last week, the cold snap. This morning, still a little chilly in the morning. We have our furnaces working. So everything can be good if it's used in the proper way. I just want to remind everybody that the risk is real, and everyone should take precautions to reduce the risk of any type of fire, whether it's downtown, whether it's in your homes, regardless of where you live. This goes through all of it. Okay, so we want to prevent fires. And how can we do that? By preventing fires, we protect our community. Obviously, this is the Lethbridge Hotel fire from, I believe it was February of last year. Large fire. We learned so much from this fire, even in the Gustin fire prevention, through investigations and through what we need to do to make sure that we stay on task and get the information we need. What's just amazing again with this was that there was no injuries. Whether it was injuries with the public, whether it was injuries with firefighters, whether it was injuries with anybody, any bystanders, it's amazing. So what happens when we prevent fires? Well, we prevent financial losses and any significant impacts to our local economy. We look here. I mean, in a situation like this, when we want to talk about economy, this is when we have issues like possibly water main breaks or damage downtown, damage to structures like the other structures here. We were pumping so much water on there. We were concerned, are we going to have damage to the foundations of the neighboring buildings? All that stuff, we need to be so careful. We want to protect public safety. Obviously, urban revitalization and investment. We want to make sure, especially the downtown, the City of Lethbridge is doing everything it can to really promote and bring up the downtown. Downtown Lethbridge is a beautiful, beautiful place. I'm not from here. I've lived here now, I'm on the start of my 14th year, but I'm originally a Maritimer, but I've been coming to Lethbridge since 1999. First time I ever came here, I always said I'm going to eventually, when I retire out of the military, I'm moving there. I love it here. Love the mountains, love everything about this. So we want to make sure we protect the city here. We protect our downtown core. We make people want to come down. And we also want to reduce the risk of civilian and firefighter injury. Yeah. What we need to remember too is everybody has a role in fire prevention. Yes, us firefighters going around in our uniforms, driving around, doing our things, it's our job, it's what we're paid to do. Our firefighters that are on the trucks or a part of our hazmat team or our water rescue team and things like that, they think differently than myself in fire prevention or my fire prevention officers that I have, that we do education, inspections, investigations. There's so much more to it than just putting the cold stuff on the hot stuff. There's a lot more to fire prevention. And all your actions make a difference. Whether it's your actions when you see somebody outside or you report maybe a hazard outside, report something to the fire department that's a concern. You know, sometimes we always say that this isn't a good thing to say, but there is no such thing as a silly question, or there's no such thing as a silly report to the fire department. To me, it might not seem like it's a big risk, but to you, if you think it's a risk, report it. That's what we're here for. That's what we're supposed to do. And by doing this, all these actions can make such a difference. We can minimize fire risk. We can reduce fire hazards, and by performing regular checks and maintenance on your buildings, you can help reduce the risk of, is this a pointer? Nope, went back the wrong way. There we go. We can reduce something like this happening to a business here downtown or to your home here in the city or wherever you do live, okay? You want to make sure you're doing this. Regular maintenance checks are very, very important. Okay, other things we can do, and this is a large one downtown. 2023, we were in triple digits for the amount of dumpster fires we had. 2024, we're actually not that much less. The numbers have gone down, which is nice to see, and a lot of it is because of different ideas that we've really pushed to the downtown core and to downtown businesses. Locking dumpsters. It doesn't take a lot, just a padlock. I do understand, especially for business owners and stuff, it could be a pain because maybe your garbage is picked up at like 5 a.m. or different things like that downtown before the busy day, but it helps reduce the risk. Other things we always look for with dumpsters and stuff as well is don't have a lot of recycling or garbage or anything piled up against them. Keep them in a very well-lit area. Keep them in a very well-lit area. We want to make sure that, you know, like lots of the fires we have downtown, we like to call them opportunistic fires. People walk by, yes, sometimes depending on the time of year, there are people who are doing it, they're trying to stay warm. But other times when they're walking around or anything's happening downtown, if we have a bunch of pallets that are leaning against buildings, if we have someone that has thrown a mattress or a couch or something there by the dumpster, or maybe if it's overflown, maybe the business just had a large delivery and the next day they're coming to pick it up, the opportunity's there. That's usually when we see these fires, okay? So we need to be careful. Make sure that if you guys, anyone owns any vacant buildings or any outbuildings like storage sheds, utility sheds, or anything outside your property, even in the residential area, not just downtown, keep them locked. As we all know, and this is not an entire presentation talking about homelessness and stuff like that. However, when the weather does go crazy, and as we all know here in southern Alberta, we can get some pretty crazy weather. I mean, it's beautiful today. It might not be in 10 minutes. We don't know, right? So people want to get out of the elements. They want to do this. They want to do that. They don't actually, maybe they don't intend to cause damage or anything, but your sheds are open, they're going to pull that door open, they're going to get in. So we need to be very careful. Make sure we keep all this stuff secure. Surveillance. We are in the digital age. I have cameras on my house. We have cameras throughout all the fire stations, in the parking lots. The city of Lethbridge has street cameras. We have all this other stuff. Making sure you have surveillance there. Sometimes something as simple as a sign saying that you do have security cameras there can be a deterrent, and people might move on, okay? Well-lit areas. Keep your areas well lit. It's you know, we've been talking to people a lot about with their, like I said, with their recycling and their dumpsters and stuff, and it's in the back alley behind the building and there's no lights there. Not a good idea. Keep the areas very well lit. Keep them clean, and keep these signs up there so people will understand that they're security and they'll just move on. And maybe the risk of the fire will be gone. Another thing that helps as well too is by having security and having this and that, if something does happen, it assists us with our investigation. It'll assist you with your insurance company and stuff as well, so we'll be able to prove how this incident happened. We did have one earlier this year. middle of summer, and it actually was an arson. And we have on video the people lighting the fire down here in the downtown area on a Sunday afternoon. So by having security cameras and stuff like that, it really does help. And then like for my wife at home with our security cameras, it just helps her sleep better at night when she hears the beep of me setting that alarm panel when we go to bed, so. Okay, this is another fire we had earlier this year. Like they come in all different shapes and sizes. This was a fire. A gentleman was driving his RV, noticed something sparking. He just kind of pulled it over, asked for some help, and within a couple seconds, this is how it went. And this is another good lead into, just to remind everybody as well as, you know, like 20, 30 years ago, when a fire would start, the materials and the chemicals that were used to produce furniture, to produce all kinds of different things like that, you would have so much time to get out. Like a fire would start on your couch, your smoke detector might go off 4 or 5 minutes later because it's just not producing enough smoke. And once it does, you then probably had another 4 to 6 minutes to get out of your property. Now, with the chemicals and stuff that are in furniture and in cushions and in all that other things, that smoke detector is going to go off within a minute. It's instantly thick black smoke. And you're going to need to be out of that house in about 3 minutes at the most. And that's not to scare people. What that is just to educate you to make sure you have a plan. What's going to happen? Make sure your exit doors are always clear. You can evacuate. And this also goes for a business. Don't get a delivery and leave everything at the front door. Don't have all your extinguishers blocked by product. It's the time of year, Christmas decorations, all that other stuff. It's everywhere. And it's fantastic. I love to see it. But we just need to be smart with it and not be blocking any life safety systems, not be blocking our exit path, whether in a business or at home. Obviously, if you see any and you have any concerns, report it to us at the Fire Prevention Bureau. We're straight days, we work 5 days a week. If it's in the evening or on a weekend, you can call and leave a message. 403-320-3811, and this is to pass on any concerns or to pass on any questions you might have from us. Either myself or one of the other investigators or inspectors will get back to you Monday morning, for sure. However, please remember, if it's an emergency, and you know, we might have 50, 60 people in here, we could have 60 different ideas of what an emergency is. You're never wrong to call 911. That's why they're there. It's an emergency to you. It might not be to me or might not be to somebody else, but it is to you, and that's okay. That is why the service of 911 is there. Make sure you call. Reducing fire hazards. You want to dispose of stuff properly, and as you know, this is a great picture. We have our black bins, our recycling bin. We have this must be behind a restaurant. We have one of the grease bins that we put it in. You want to make sure, one, these are secure. So like in a downtown area, what I'd recommend for these is these bins, especially the blue and the black bins, they should be in a secure area. And then when it's time for garbage to be picked up or recycling to be picked up, that's when you put it outside. With other businesses in town, what you can do is we always recommend you could possibly build off a little fenced off area that people just can't get around it. And then that way it minimizes the risk. You can get locks even for these Tarlac tubs, the black and blue bins. They work about as good as you would think they can. I have seen numerous times they just very easily snapped. Okay, so you can get them, but like I said, keeping your area well lit, keeping security cameras could deter people from getting close to these. Also with the blue bins and everything, and then well with the pallets, there's a great picture of a pallet here. Over the years, we have lots of issues of people with the pallets. If you get a delivery and you have a lot of pallets, there is actually a company that will drive around the downtown for free and pick up these pallets. I should know the name off the top of my head, but I'm getting a little older, so I don't remember right now. But if it's ever there, please contact me and I can get you that phone number or get you the name of the business at least. They have to be unpainted, untreated, and good pallets, but they will come and pick them up. Okay? If you get a delivery or some of this, and this also goes even for your home, and we're talking in your back alley. Maybe people get like some new furniture delivered, or you get things like this, and you have the large boxes, the styrofoam, everything. Maybe you get a new chair, so you just throw your old chair out in the alley, like I'll take it to the landfill this weekend, and then something happens. I never recommend storing that stuff. Get rid of it as fast as you can, as best as you can. And also remember, if you do get some larger items, the city of Lethbridge does do a large item pickup. I believe it's twice a year you can get that done. So you can call in, get it booked. Maybe you know your new furniture is going to get delivered next Wednesday, so maybe you could get something picked up for next Thursday morning or something. Okay? Storing safety, so reducing fire hazards and having all your products and how you want to store them. You want to keep combustible materials at least 3 meters away from your building. Now, obviously, depending on the footprint of the buildings here downtown and where you're located, you might not have 3 meters, 1 meter, 2 meters, whatever distance you can use it. Don't have stuff piled right up. When we do our inspections and we go into large industrial buildings, there's actually issues in the fire code that allow us to tell these people that, no, you need to have all your product at least 3 feet, 5 feet away from the building. It's just like a fire lane that can help separate. Because how a fire happens is, a fire is just like when everyone wants to come here and have and eat the food here that's made at the senior center. It's amazing food you just want to keep eating. We got Christmas coming up soon. I already made sure I bought myself a bigger belt, so I'm going to be ready to go for January, because once the turkey dinner's out, I go out of control. But the same thing is with a fire. A fire wants to consume everything around it. A fire wants to eat. And everything in the world, every product in the world will burn, will get damaged by fire. Now, what I mean by that is, so say brick, cement. What happens is the fire dries it out. It'll start to spall. The moisture inside will kind of blow, and it'll start blowing chunks out there, and then next thing you know, it's like powder, it's dust. So everything will happen. That is not to make people panic thinking that they have a brick fireplace in their home, and now you don't want to use that because it might damage. No, the amount of heat you need for that, you're not going to have in your home fireplace, okay? But everything will. So if a fire starts here and you have so much product beside it, it's just going to continue to spread and consume and get bigger. We look at the Lethbridge Hotel fire. We think of the fire down in Waterton a few years ago. The fire last year up north, the 2016 Fort Mac fires. All fires start small. But when it's there, it's just consuming and consuming and consuming more. So by trying to practice fire prevention and just pay attention to some small little tips, you could help minimize that fuel load, which now will help minimize the fire, okay? So keep everything away. This was a fire that was downtown. This is a garbage area of a restaurant. Some people got in, they went inside to get out of the wind and to get warm. Lit a fire they're not thinking about, they're just thinking about getting warm, and it caught all the recycling and the garbage in the dumpster. We've had times where we've had dumpster fires here in the city when our firefighters, the girls and guys go and they pop the lid off to put the fire out, and the person's actually inside the dumpster because that's how they're getting warm. It happens, so we got to be careful. Flammables, I mean, it does go without saying. However, I've done inspections in the past where I've gone into furnace rooms of apartment buildings and there's propane tanks inside. And then the people look at me and say, no, it's okay, they're empty. Well, once they've been filled once, they're never empty. There's always a risk, okay? So anything flammable, jerry cans, different things like that, I recommend you have a look. You do not store them in your basement. Do not store them outside for people to see and the opportunity to be there. They should be stored in a shed. They should be secured and just kept away from everything flammable, okay? Your heating systems. A lot of the buildings, that's another thing that's what's so nice about Lethbridge and downtown is there's so much history in the buildings and stuff downtown. They're beautiful. The Lethbridge Hotel, I used to do the inspection there years ago, and it was amazing to me when you go downstairs in that basement and it was a dirt foundation, and you could go from the hotel over to Studio 54, and there was tunnels. There was tunnels that would head towards the coulees that were blocked off. The history is unbelievable. So a lot of the heating devices downtown in a lot of these businesses are pretty well as old as the buildings. So maintenance is huge. Make sure they're checked. As for your one, either in your business or at your home, if you have natural gas heat, anything like that, you can call companies like ACCO once a year. They will come for free and check all your connections and make sure everything's okay. Very important. I do it at my house every couple years, and it just helps us sleep better, okay? So I do recommend that. If you have electric heat, that's fine. With electric heat, the biggest thing is to look at is just look at all the connections and where it's connecting to the electrical outlet. Some people now, this time of year, even some of the guys and gals at the fire hall, I can hear the space heaters going. If you're using things like that, make sure they're plugged directly into the wall and or into a power bar that's surge protected. Extension cords are fantastic, they work. Don't recommend them all the time, there's just always a risk there, you want to make sure. And if you have anything like that, electric heat, double check the cords all the time before you even use them. If they're starting to get damaged, starting to get frayed, that's the time to replace them, okay? That's where the risk is. Regular checks and maintenance for code compliance. I know everyone, I always get asked questions all the time about the permitting process with the city of Lethbridge, permits that we do at the fire department, and different things like that. Some people will say that it's just a money grab by the city. That is not the case. We're trying to make sure that everything is done up to code, that it is safe. I'm not an electrician. I might try to save myself $100 and just do it without a permit. It's not going to happen. I love my house. I love my family, so I want to make sure it's wired properly, okay? So same thing in your businesses. If you have systems that need maintenance, a fire alarm system, a sprinkler system, your HVAC, anything like that that requires annual testing, ensure you get it done. And ensure you get it done by a licensed provider that is qualified to do this. If you ever have questions or concerns, if there's anyone here that maybe owns a restaurant or something like that, there's a few other things you need to have done every year. If you ever have questions and concerns, you're like, you know, I want to call this business to do it, but I'm not sure if they're allowed, call the 403-320-3811. One of us will get back to you, and we can do the research for you to make sure that they're licensed and qualified to do what the job they're offering to do. Okay? But you want to make sure this is done. Code compliance is a lot of what we do in fire prevention. We go into businesses to make sure they're safe for the public, but also to make sure it's safe for the firefighters. And heaven forbid we ever have to go in there. So we make sure the alarm systems are serviced and up to code and working properly. The sprinkler system, all that stuff. Make sure doors are working, exit doors aren't blocked, extinguishers are serviced, everything. As we said, annual inspections. It's almost like I knew we were leading into it. Annual inspections. We want to ensure fire alarms and all life safety systems are professionally inspected. Okay, that's why I loved here earlier. I don't know if you noticed, but Curtis was unsafe and went up on a chair, but he took the decorative ball off the ceiling just so we could see it wasn't blocking the screen here. The thing I like the most is they're not hanging off of sprinkler heads. We have had before, a few years ago at the college, we had a young gentleman that was at the college in one of the brand new dorms. He was getting ready to go for a night in the town, had a nice button-up shirt hanging up because he just ironed it. Big farm boy grabbed it and gave it a pull. Ripped that sprinkler head right out. It was a couple $100,000 worth of water damage in the building. So if you have a business that has a sprinkler head, just keep the stuff away from it. You need to keep it clear and have them inspected, okay? All right, we are getting close to the end here. So remember one thing, your actions make a difference. Stay alert, stay safe. Pay attention to what you're doing. We all get complacent. You know, the world's going by us a million miles an hour. I mean, I've seen so many people, and I loved it when it was mentioned, I've seen so many people pull out phones and do. We're always concerned about the phone. We're so connected to everything now that sometimes, and I'm sure we've all seen it, and maybe we've all done it once or twice, we kind of forget to pay attention to what we're doing right now. So stay alert. Pay attention to what's going on. We had a fire last week that was a candle that was left going in a house when everyone left or went to bed. That's not a good idea. The ghost in your house doesn't care if it smells good, so you can blow the candle out, it's okay. Cooking, Christmas is coming up, you know, and when we cook and the stove starts at like 8 in the morning and it smells so good all day, someone needs to be in that house. I'm not saying you need to grab a chair, sit in front of your oven, read a book, and stare at the turkey cooking. No, the turkey might get a little embarrassed. But what you want to do is just make sure someone's in the house. Heaven forbid something happened, you need to be there to control it. So you want to make sure. So just some different ideas is minimizing fire risks, some ideas of what you can do. Secure your areas, as we spoke. Not just your garbage cans or your recycling. Secure your business, secure your home. I still know a few people, believe it or not, that leave and, yeah, no, my door's unlocked. I didn't feel like grabbing my keys. I don't go across the road to the park, right straight across from my house, they'll lock my door. It's a good habit to get into. It's the world we live in. Improve your surveillance. I'm not telling you that we need to be like Mission Impossible and have everything going and little earbuds and stuff going, but it's amazing what a camera can do. An alarm system, the door opens up, next you know the alarm starts going off. It's a deterrent, it can go. And report any concerns. Like I said, report everything. Other ways we can reduce fire hazards. Dispose of chemicals, dispose of garbage or recycling, all properly. What that means is you don't just, for example, another thing that we've had that have caused a lot of fires here in the city of Lethbridge and not being properly disposed of is staining. When people stain furniture or stain your deck. It's funny, it'll say on the back, it'll have different things in huge black letters, but then the fire risk stuff is like this. You know, They need to be kept, all brushes, everything like that should be put in a metal container that's full of water, not just wrapped up and thrown in your garbage can, okay? And I have, believe it or not, I never used to believe in spontaneous combustion. I've been to about a half a dozen spontaneous combustion fires here in the city since I've been here. It happens, okay? So dispose of stuff properly. When in doubt, give us a call and ask us what to do. And if I don't know the answer, I will not lie to you. I will find the answer for you, and we'll make sure it gets disposed of. Store all products safely. Have a look at when you're buying your cleaning chemicals, all that, things like that. Have a look at what it says for the storage. If you work in a business that has a lot of hazardous stuff, it comes with material safety data sheets. Read them. It's written right there in bold lettering how to properly store it, whether it's temperature, firewalls, all that stuff. Have a look. And as we said earlier, secure your flammables. And then last, please remember regular checks and maintenance. Regularly inspect your heating system, your sprinkler, all that stuff. Code compliance. You want to make sure your extinguishers are up to code. We have hose cabinets here. You want to make sure those are tested. Just different ideas. And then lastly is to just, if you do have life safety systems, get them annually serviced like they're supposed to. When we come and do the fire inspections, sometimes we get business owners that are a little upset at us because it does cost money to have these done. Sometimes, though, as a business and for safety, you have to have it done. So, like, for example, restaurant owners are like, oh, this costs this costs this. Well, it is the cost of having a business to make sure it's safe. We want to make sure that's all done. Okay, I definitely want to thank you. As we said, this is our Fire Prevention Week theme this year, smoke alarms, make them work for you. Any more information, you can go on the City of Lethbridge website, and it'll have information there. It is a little bit of a pain to get to, but if you go on the City of Lethbridge website, scroll down the page a little bit, and then it'll say emergency services. You click on it. Once that comes up, it'll let you know, are you picking fire and EMS? Are you picking Lethbridge Police? So then pick fire and EMS, and then you got to pick again fire prevention, and then it will have all the information. But it's all there. You know, the website's kind of new, so maybe there's some more things you can check. And we do have Curtis with us now that is just updating so much information for us all the time that we're constantly working on that. There is a fire safety brochure here. I did bring them. Please take one if you like. Not force anyone to take one. And if you do take one and you're done reading it, dispose of it properly like we already talked about. And that's all I have.
So we also welcome your ideas and comments. You can do that at info@sacba.ca, and then put down whatever you think there could be a good speaker in the future. Or else there's a suggestion box, I guess. Terry, do you have the suggestion box? Or yeah, you can put your suggestions there. Okay, so as a unique weekly opportunity for people to discuss issues, SACPA is supported by many in our community. We thank you, the LSCO, who have provided this room free of charge, and we thank you for patronizing their lunch counter. We thank the University of Lethbridge for their ongoing support. We thank the Lethbridge Herald and other media for their coverage and support. And we thank Rogers TV for recording our sessions and making them available on TV, sacba.ca archives, and on YouTube. So now it's a question period. We ask that those waiting to ask for questions, please line up along the wall here. Please state your name and your question briefly. No long preludes or stories, please, and no more than 2 questions at a time. We expect respectful and polite discourse. If you prefer to write your question, write it down legibly with your name and give it to me and I can ask. So, first question.
I'm Mike McCaig. Thanks for your presentation. There's 2 things I'd like to hear a little bit about. Number 1 is batteries, EVs, and e-bikes and that kind of thing. Is there any special thing we should be thinking about with them? And the other one is, what do you think about, we're seeing a lot of advertisement for these fire blankets. Could you talk on those?
Absolutely. Okay, so those were fantastic questions. I'll start with the fire blankets first. I don't know why, I just want to go backwards. Fire blankets. I know Facebook had a big thing last Christmas time around this time. I don't think I've ever been asked a question about one topic in particular more in a year than I have been about fire blankets. Do they work? Are they worth it? Yes, They are. They work very well. Do fire blankets replace a fire extinguisher? Absolutely not. It's another form of protection. A fire blanket is perfect for, say, close to your kitchen. When we talk about kitchen fires, and kitchen fires in the home are our #1 type of fires, cooking fires. So if you ever do it and you're cooking and you have a fire on your stove, what we always tell people is to don't panic. If you don't have an extinguisher or have it there, always cook with the lid beside you. You grab the lid, you cover it, move it off the burner, turn the burner off, you're fine. If you don't have a lid, you can use a fire extinguisher. If you don't have a lid, now you can use a fire blanket. I know getting close to Fire Prevention Week this year, pretty well everywhere in the city was sold out. They were very difficult to get. My wife included went to get one and they were sold out. But I do know, for example, I'm not promoting any business here, but I do know a few different hardware stores, south side, north side, that do have them now. I've seen them for like about $25-ish, but who knows, everything goes up every 5 minutes, so I don't know what they cost now. But yes, sir, the fire blankets do work very well. It's almost just like a towel or anything. You just pull it out and you cover it. I've seen different things online about these, saying that if you're trapped in your house and you have a fire blanket in your bedroom and your house is on fire, you can wrap yourself out and run out of the fire. It's going to help, but I don't recommend that, okay? What I recommend is, one, you should always be sleeping with your bedroom door closed tight anyways, and have a phone in your room. And if there's ever a fire and you can't get out, instead of wrapping yourself in a towel, fire blanket, and trying to run through it like a TV show, call 911, get us there ASAP. Now, as it goes to batteries, the biggest thing to remember, of course, is we always see the things online about these e-bikes and scooters and stuff. We only ever see the fires. So, you know, we might see 1 or 2 things in a week saying that there was fires in the city, but there's probably 5,000 of these in the city, so the percentage is very low. The biggest thing to remember about these is, one, the risk is when they're charging. If you overcharge them, that's a risk. While they're charging, that's when they're heating up. As they're charging, it's producing heat. Electricity produces heat. That's where the risk is. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to have it like most people when they buy like a treadmill or an elliptical, they use it for a month and then it's a clothes rack in their bedroom. Okay, don't do that with your e-bike. When you're charging it, don't have anything combustible hanging off of it or sitting close to the batteries, or heaven forbid a fuel can or something close to it. Have it plugged directly into a wall, or once again, a good surge protected power bar. Dollar store and stuff always have power bars on sale. There's a reason they're on sale. Power bars are not cheap, but in order to get a good one, if there's ever a surge on either way from the house or in the thing, it's going to kill the power to it. So highly recommended. Also, if you do have these devices, don't plug them into charge and go to bed for the night. Don't plug them into charge and go away for the weekend. Things like that. It needs to be monitored. Once again, I'm not saying get a book and sit beside the bike to make sure it all works, but that's when the risk is with these electric bikes and these batteries, is when they're charging. We get a lot of our safety information from the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, and there actually is a new code coming out very soon, and it's all about these batteries. So we will learn a lot more, and with Curtis's assistance, once we get this information, we will get it out to the public. For sure, but if anyone else ever has any questions about that, feel free. I'm learning every day when I do research about these fires. Hope that answered your question.
Maria Fitzpatrick, and Mark will probably be upset with me because Mike asked my question, but I have a kudos for you. Several Christmases ago, Christmas Eve, there was a fire 2 doors away from my house, and there were, I know, 5 fire trucks on the street, a command post, and a fire truck in the alley. And nobody was hurt. The fire was taken care of. And after the fire was, and it was minus 25 degrees, after the fire was over, the firemen made sure they cleaned all the drains going down the street because there was lots of water and it was cold and it was freezing. And I want to thank you for being there to save my neighbors and for the work that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for the next questioner, my mother-in-law works with the recycling sorting facility in Edmonton. And she says that there have been fires happening more often, and it's due to disposed lithium batteries. Now, we're not talking about the big batteries in cars or obviously, or motorcycles, whatever. It's just about everything we have now, cell phones, everything has a lithium battery. So, and then apparently when they're put into recycling, rather than, on those batteries, you'll see always a little mark, not into, dispose in the garbage. But I bet you people will put them into the recycling bins. Yes. So has there ever been a fire at our recycling depot that you think that has been due to a disposed lithium battery?
The recycling depot, no, but in the back of our fire trucks, yes. Or sorry, the back of our garbage trucks, yes. We have had quite a few, actually. We usually get a couple a year of the operator will be driving the truck. All of a sudden, he or she will notice the smoke coming out of the back. I assisted them earlier this year to come up with a new policy and procedure of what to do, and most of the time that is what it is batteries. Even at the city of Lethbridge now, we recycle all our batteries. So what we do is, the biggest batteries, like I said, the lithium batteries, obviously, that's why, like, say in your cell phones and stuff, it is a bit of a money grab when you do those programs of you bring it back, but at least when you bring your phone back to like TELUS, Rogers, things like that, they dispose of them properly. Don't just chuck it in the garbage. With other batteries, you know, you can get those little bins. We now have a little Tupperware device at home that my wife and I use, especially, I mean, I emptied it not too long ago, and now that I put the decorations up and all the dead batteries from last year, it's full again. But then I take them in and I put them in the bins all over to recycle your batteries. So what I would recommend is, the one that's the risk is your 9-volt batteries, and they always recommend you put a piece of tape over the end of your 9-volt batteries, because where it has the positive and the negative on it, if they end up touching the right way, could start a fire. Okay, but yes, we have had them, especially in the garbage trucks. There's been multiple fires over the last few years. But yeah, it's another one of those things that we just need to dispose of properly. And when in doubt, we all have Wi-Fi, do a quick little search. What's the best way to dispose of?
Hi, my name is Henning Mundel. And I wondered, do you, at the fire station, do you keep annual records of the causes? For example, how many arson do we have in the year and how many various causes? Do you have a breakdown of that? Maybe you can give us some idea which are the main ones?
Absolutely, absolutely I can. So, like I said, so yes, we do. Every fire, especially the fires that are investigated, we do have to come up with a cause. That's our job, is to discover what the origin and cause of the fire is. And there's 4 types of fires that we will report. There's accidental, undetermined, which means there's just no evidence, there's nothing, we cannot prove how it started. There's incinerary, which means someone lit it. The biggest thing to remember is arson is not a type of fire. And you know, I've taught our firefighters this too, and some of my investigators, because that's what we always know. It's an arson. Arson is not a type of fire. It's actually a criminal act, starting an incinerary fire. Okay, and then there is natural causes, lightning, things like that. We do keep stats. We also sometimes will record them as suspicious, because unless we have on video or an admission of they started the fire, that's really the only time we could say it's incinerary. Like the one we had earlier this year in the back of a business here downtown, we have video of them lighting it. Yes, that's an incinerary fire. A lot of the other ones we'll write down as being suspicious. And I will tell you is, you know, usually dumpsters don't just catch fire, or different things like that. So we will record that as being suspicious, just because it is so difficult. But I will say that probably so far this year, we've done 38 actual fire investigations, where we go, we put our gear on, we dig them out, we do our thing. We used to average about 20 a year. Last year, we were in the 70s or the 80s. So this year's kind of gone back to normal. So we'll see how it continues to go. But home fires, the majority of the home fires we have, probably, well, the majority are always called by cooking or unattended cooking, things like that, and or electrical fires. We do get a lot of electrical fires, and most of the time what it is just complacency, not paying attention. But we do that. That's why we have that one picture I showed. I think I can go back. Right there. You can go on the city website. It's not being updated at this time. Our admin assistant that we had in fire prevention is no longer there, but we're in the process of starting this again. And it'll show you where the fires were, and if we do have a cause, it'll be in there as well. Okay? That answer your question, sir? Okay.
Hello. My name is Justin Ellis, and my question for you is, a long time ago, I had just gotten off of a shift at work, and I was walking down the street, and this poor kid, he was pulling the stuff out of his car as the engine had caught on fire. His girlfriend was there, and she was pulling stuff out of the back seat, and there was 5 or 6 people surrounding the car. The flames started to get higher and bigger, and it started to get hotter, and I called 911, and I was the first person who had called them. And what I'm wondering is, if you're not sure if someone has already called 911 and you see a fire, is there any penalty in calling again?
No, that is fantastic. Another thing too, and what kind of I will lead into as well by answering his question is, one, absolutely not. There's not a charge. I don't care if our dispatch gets 100 phone calls for every fire. We normally do. The biggest thing to remember is, just because a place is monitored, this place here has a fire alarm system, it's monitored. We do fire drills all the time, and I don't like the percentage of the times that the monitoring company doesn't call 911. So we have cell phones, call. The dispatcher might just say to you, you know what, yes, we're already aware, thank you very much. Hopefully they won't be rude, but they will be in the process of doing everything, so it's going to be very quick. But absolutely not. Never expect that somebody else is called. Yesterday we had an issue with a young person on the lake, or sorry, on the river. We did receive multiple calls. Thank goodness. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. If people didn't call, we wouldn't have known. So yes, call dispatch no matter what. If you think it's something we need to know, please call. And call 911. And this goes for another thing too, which leads into that, is lots of times what we'll do is I'll get a call the next day about a neighbor complaining about their neighbor's fire pit, or this and that they were burning black smoke and burning garbage or burning plastic and stuff. There's nothing I can do about it that day. Call 911. And so many times I've been like, well, I don't want to waste the firefighter's time just for a fire pit. That's not wasting their time, that's our job. And by having it recorded in the computer system as a call, now I can action it, we can research, I can send a warning. If this person does it again, we can issue fees, and eventually we can take them to court, and they can be held responsible for what they're doing. So yes, please, call 911 no matter what.
Thanks very much, Troy, for your excellent presentation, an important one. I have 2 questions for you. One relates to gas stoves versus electric stoves, and the other one involves fire detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. I usually try out my fire detector with letting my toast burn a little bit and see if it goes off rather than pushing the button. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about those 2 items?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and you do the same as me. My smoke detector is my timer when I cook. I'm just kidding, it's not. But smoke detectors, you know, one of the big things, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors is, one, they have a life expectancy. They're supposed to be replaced every 10 years. They also, you'll have some that are hardwired, and you'll have some that are battery operated. I believe it was in the 80s, after a certain date in the 80s, any house that was built has to have hardwired smoke detectors. And what I mean by hardwired smoke detectors is, if you have a fire in your basement, the detectors talk to each other. The one upstairs is going to go off as well. Okay? So that's, and they're wired straight to the house. We get calls all the time saying that my hardwired detector's beeping, and I'll say, well, you haven't checked the battery, and they're kind of like, no, sir, I told you it's hardwired. That's usually not how nice they say it, but most of them still have a battery backup as well, so you need to check it. Your batteries need to be replaced once a year. Myself, like we always recommend, and we always put out a media release when the clocks change, whether forward or back. I use mine in the fall. When they fall back, I also change all my batteries and my smoke detectors, and then I get them and I bring them to recycling. Okay, so that's that. Carbon monoxide, same thing. Have a look. Newer ones you buy now will have a sticker on the outside of them saying when it needs to be replaced by. Older ones, you might have to physically take it off and it'll be inside there. A larger carbon monoxide detectors like the one I have, when I installed it, I had to write a date on it. So keep an eye on that. Sometimes, yes, they have a life expectancy of 10 years. I have seen people that have called us that they've only been in their house 2 years and the detector's faulty and starting to not work. It happens. Everything mechanical will break down. Now, as for gas stoves and electric stoves, is one better? Is one more of a risk? I would say no. They're both the same. What I would recommend with a gas stove is the same thing. Obviously, there's always a pilot light there lit, so you need to be very careful. I don't recommend it for an electric stove either, but do not use the stove top as more counter space. We have had so many structure fires where people have come in, they put their groceries on the front, they walk back out. Next time they come in, they could smell something. When they drop their bags, they turn a burner on. And it has happened numerous times here in the city of Lethbridge, okay? Purely accidental, so don't use that as a counter space. Do not put anything combustible or anything on top of your stove. Keep your stove clean, okay? If it's not clean, that's when you have your risk of your fire. Like I said, if we're not using our smoke detectors at our timer, I'm using the sound of everything boiling over out of the pot as, okay, I gotta go and stir it. So you wanna clean it. If you make a mess on your stove or your oven, you need to keep it clean. And it will lead me to really quick when it comes to ovens or microwaves. If you ever do, we still have people put tinfoil in microwaves and they've been out, what now, for 40 some years? It still happens. If you ever have a fire inside your microwave or in your stove, just relax and hit the power button. Do not open the door. Fire needs oxygen in order to keep burning. They're not airtight, but the oxygen is so minor, it'll eat up that oxygen so fast, the fire will put itself out in seconds. So yeah, that's what I recommend, okay?
Bev Mundell-Atherstone, thank you so much, and thank you for the firemen and women and all the work that you do. Thank you very much. A little SOCPA update. So many of our SOCPA participants ended up going to the LSCO benefit the other night, and I counted 22 of us, but there may have been more. And Hannah tells me that they made their $15,000 amount that they wanted to make for a fundraiser. So congratulations and thank you to everyone. Okay, I had asked you if you read the book Fire Weather by John Valant. The reason I keep bugging you guys about it is because of the updates. So I'm wondering, I've got 3 questions. One, do you make sure that you have updates from other people who are fighting these tremendous fires? Because that Fort McMurray fire really was quite upsetting. Why does the downtown have so many fires on your little map here? It looks like right in that little square, that there's so many fires, and you talked about dumpster fires, and you talked about the unhoused trying to keep warm. So I wonder if here's the question, do you keep in touch with the police department and city council saying that we need more shelter space so that people are not resorting to sleeping in dumpsters and making little fires in dumpsters so that they keep warm? That was number 2. And number 3, for people who don't know, could you tell us a little bit about spontaneous combustion and what are the materials needed to start a fire in your garbage can when you're not there?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to remember all 3. For the first one was about we are doing education constantly. When my son was younger and in school, he actually used to get frustrated because he'd say, Dad, he goes, you're X and X of an age and you're still doing courses all the time. We're constantly learning. We have a training division at the fire department that is constantly sending out information. Whether it's new stuff from AHS for medical, whether it's fire training, we are always doing it. Myself and the investigators, we are constantly doing training on investigations, whether it's, like I said, whether it's batteries, whether it's different types of materials, all that stuff. That's one thing about this job is you don't just finish your course and now sit with your feet up and wait for a fire. It is nonstop. I never used to wear glasses until I started doing this because I'm always reading, I'm always studying, and that. So yes, we are constantly learning. The second question about the homelessness, correct? Is that what it was? Okay, the homelessness, yes. I can't speak too much on that. I will say this, that we have members of the fire department, and myself included, that we do meet with a task force that happens at City Council, just trying to come up with different ideas of what happens. Like I always say, and it's the same thing I say when I go to seniors' homes and make presentations, in a perfect world, everything would be one level, we'd never have fires, all seniors, all people, there'd be no mobility issues, we could just, heaven forbid there was an emergency, we open our door and we just walk out into our beautiful yard. I mean, I can't speak political or anything like that, but I mean, we know the world we live in now and the cost of things and everything. And the shelter we have here, they're doing a huge renovation right now. We still have to remember fire code. We still have to remember safety. There's only a certain number that can go in there. So that's why they're expanding to make it bigger. There's constant things going, but as we all know, things cost money. And we have to look at different ways and come up with different ideas that are best for the community and best that we can try to help with this. But yes, we are involved with City Council. We are involved with, I believe they just called the Downtown Task Force. That's why these pamphlets were developed. We're involved with them, just giving them any ideas of different stuff we could do to help minimize this. And obviously, we're all human beings. No one likes to see someone homeless on the street or anything. So we are trying, definitely. And for spontaneous combustion, one thing about spontaneous combustion, usually what it is, like I said, it'll be the different products that are in it, like stain, grass clippings. If the humidity is right, the temperature is right, the moisture inside those grass clippings are right, they will spontaneous combust. They can start on fire. And that's what happens with rags, I mean, with stain. It just, everything has to be perfect. And it happens more often than you think, and they will. When they just did the new, I know I live on the north side, we have the recycling depot up by Legacy, and then when they did the recycling depot down by the visitlethbridge.com arena, that first summer that was there, our guys got paged out to it first or second day. The large pile of wood chips actually started to combust inside because just the temperature and everything was perfect. Okay, so like myself personally, I know we have the green bins and everything now. Usually what I do, but this is just my own opinion, I'm a little nervous and stuff, is I will cut my grass a day, maybe 2 days before it's being picked up. So it's not just sitting out in the direct sunlight. I try to keep it out of the direct sunlight to keep the heat out of it quite a bit. Just different things like that you can do. Okay?
Thanks very much. I'm Ian Hurdle. 6 years ago, I watched 2 houses down the street burn sort of to the ground because of the spontaneous of the rags, stain rags in the tarlic tubs. Anyway, my fun question is, if we get rid of daylight saving time, what are you going to give us as a reminder to test our smoke detectors?
That is a fantastic question. I could use carrier pigeons, I could use something like that, but no, all jokes aside, we will find a way to make sure the messaging gets out there. Like I said, that's just, come on, we're all, especially us older gentlemen, we need the little hints to remind us to do things. But yeah, no, there's always so many different things we could do for pub ed notices and advice. We would get it out there still. That is fantastic, thank you.
Patricia Buswell. I don't have a fantastic question, and I've got one that kind of embarrasses me. I live in a double-wide modular, and I know I have in the vaulted ceiling a smoke detector. I've always felt that probably I should have another one somewhere in the house, and I certainly don't want to waste your time with phone calls like that. So how do people like me and others in the park go about getting somebody to come out, see that, maybe put another one in so you can rest at night? I just haven't, the only way I know is phone you, and that's not appropriate.
All right, perfect. Thank you for your question. And first thing I will say is it is appropriate. We do have a smoke detector program at the fire department. Now, what we could say we're going to do it for these people, but not these people. So what happens is, yes, if you ever need, you can call us. You'll get added to a list, and we will come out and test your smoke detector and also give advice if you need a new one. and a recommendation of where to put it. What happened is I don't want to say it was a program that was taken advantage of, but say, for example, one of the newer neighborhoods here in the city, nice, big, beautiful home, so it has 20-foot ceilings and everything like that. Well, they don't have a ladder, so they can't check their own, so they would call us. And then now we're going in and we're damaging stuff with our ladders, we're doing things like this. So for those people, we say, no, you need to hire an electrician and get them to come in and do your stuff. When we're dealing with seniors or people that live alone that might need some assistance, absolutely. We have a smoke detector program. You can contact the fire department. I am not saying we'll be there in 5 minutes. However, we will definitely get there and we can check and help you out.
Violet Meekma is my name. I don't know how many of you guys here are handymen who like to fix your own extension cords, but I have a husband like that. And you mentioned get rid of the frayed ones. So is it safe to splice and fix these things when a rabbit chews through them or whatever happens?
No, I don't want to have your husband showing up at the fire hall mad at me. And in this day and age, I don't want to be telling people you need to go out and spend money like crazy and stuff. I would recommend a new one, but there's a reason why splicing and stuff happens. All electricians do them, people that do them, and you know, and I'm sure your husband is a gentleman of the age that, no, I don't need to call someone, I can fix stuff myself. If it's done properly, it's okay. So same thing, making sure that there's no exposed wires, making sure that everything is there, but if it make you sleep better at night, I would highly recommend just replacing it with a new one. As we all know, everything breaks down, everything breaks. I don't like spending money either, but sometimes we just have to go and get a new cord. I went and bought a new cord the other day because I gave my extension cord to my son for his block heater last winter. I couldn't get over it. It was $70-some for this cord, but I have a nice new heavy-duty cord, but still, yes, I'd recommend getting a new one.
Yeah, it seems to me that some of the worst residential fires are happening in our new neighborhoods. And I'm thinking, is it because of its OSB construction? Is it because there's vinyl siding? Is it because the houses are too close to each other? So it seemed to me that the biggest residential fires in the last few years happened, it wasn't just that building that went down, it's the building on the right and the left that got major and even total destruction. So do you have anything to say about the way we're building our houses, and maybe we're building them too close, or what can we do?
That's a great question as well. Every year, codes are developed. There's a reason why these homes are being allowed to be built so close. They have upgraded the materials used on the exterior of them. We also have in our code how many, like say, windows we can have on the sides of the houses for exposed openings. Yes, we do, and like I said, when we start getting more congestion and more homes, we also have a more congestion of more people. We have more congestion of more vehicles. We have more congestion of more garbage, more this and that. This is my personal opinion. We have developed into a society now that there is lots of garbage around. There is different things like that. It's the fuel load. You know, we get calls and concerns all the time of people calling us that this person has wood piled up in their driveway, 4 cords of wood because they use it to go camping. We don't have a right to go tell him no to get rid of it. It's his private property. It's his house. But is that good having all that fuel load there? No. So that if we do get a spark, it goes through. The actual building and design of the homes, like I said, people that get paid a lot more than me and a lot smarter than me develop these codes and develop the different products that are supposed to be used on them, that are supposed to meet the code. And the biggest thing to remember about building code and fire code is it is the minimum safety requirement. It's not the maximum. So because they're allowing it, doesn't necessarily mean it's the safest thing in the world, but it's the minimum safety requirement. I know that didn't really answer your question, but yeah, it's difficult because once again, everything's case by case. But the thing is that I think the numbers are that much higher too for these newer developments is so many places now are newer developments. Like, I mean, we're getting some of the older parts of Lethbridge now too, that people are buying the homes because they're such big lots. And then next, you know, they're putting in fourplexes and duplexes and stuff. So they are at the bare minimum of spatial separations and separations of property lines that, yeah, it can lead to that. If you have a fire, it's going to be a lot more than just that one property going. Last one, make it a good one. Not that they haven't been good already. That's not what I mean.
Well, Mary Shillington, I'm almost embarrassed to ask this question, but when you said when you're changing batteries, recycle them. How do I recycle them? What do I have to do to recycle them? Okay, so.
And please don't be, like I said, there's no such thing as a silly question. At different places, you can take them in and they'll have recycling drop-offs. So, for example, I believe Staples does. There is some different businesses that sell electronics that will take your batteries. So the only thing I'd recommend is, I wish I kind of knew a bit more of exactly what it was, but you can always check online. You can always call and say, do you guys deliver these? There used to be a thought here that people could deliver their used oil and stuff to the fire hall because we'll dispose of it. Some people still do. We don't do that, so please don't bring your used oil or any hazardous chemicals like that to the fire hall. But there's still some people out there that think we do. So yeah, you can just reach out. But like companies like that, like Staples, I wouldn't be surprised if Best Buy, things that will take your batteries.
Yeah, when you go into London Drugs, there's also a place where you can dump your batteries. So next week's speaker will be we'll have 3 speakers, Kevin McBeath, Danielle Garreau, and Derek Riesler from the Alberta Teachers Association. And their title of their speaking will be, How Can We Get Public Education Back on Track? So before we finish, I'll just ask Troy if he could give us a take-home message.
I wrote it down. My take-home, I really appreciate it. He emailed me last night to say, just to give you a heads up, I'm going to ask you for a take-home message. I don't usually get the mouth fumbles, but if I would have got it out, so anyways, I did write something down. The take-home message I want to remind everyone here is just safety. Safety is key when it comes to preventing fires and preventing all types of fires in the home and in your business, but I'm specifically now talking to each of you individually and in your home. Always stay alert, like I said, when cooking. Never leave stoves or ovens unattended, and keep flammable items away from heat sources. Another good tip here as well is we all like to dress up at Christmas. We all like to dress up when we have parties over and stuff. Don't wear loose-fitting clothing around your stove or when you're cooking. Some of these Christmas sweaters now and stuff are beautiful, and the dresses and stuff that ladies wear when they look fantastic. They wouldn't look as nice melted to your arm. So just be careful, okay, please. Install your smoke detectors in proper areas. You could talk to 3 or 4 different people and they'll tell you 3 or 4 different areas. You want your smoke detector close to where you're cooking in the kitchen. You also want smoke detectors closer to your sleeping quarters. Newer homes now that are built, you have one installed outside of the hallway and each bedroom has a detector in it as well, okay? Because we want you to sleep with your door closed. Make sure you check your detectors. You should be testing them monthly, changing the batteries once a year, replace them every 10 years. You can also buy smoke detectors now too if you're sick and tired of changing batteries that have a 10-year battery in them. They are a bit more expensive, but you never have to change the battery. You'll just, when it does go, you just replace the detector. The importance of having a fire extinguisher, we haven't really spoke about it much. Everyone should have a fire extinguisher in their home. I'd like to ask everyone, but I don't want to be personal, so I'm not going to ask everyone if you do, but if you don't, you really should. If you do, check it. You don't have to get it serviced every year like they do in businesses, but just have a look at it. One, make sure it's not from 1972. You might need a new one then. But have a look. If it has a pressure gauge on it, make sure you're in the green. Make sure you have a pin and a seal in there. And then just tip it upside down. It's full of baking soda and another chemical that helps put the fire out. You should feel the powder moving around. We don't get a lot of humidity here in southern Alberta. When I lived in southern Ontario, these extinguishers, you'd have to beat them with a rubber mallet to loosen the powder up. Here, we don't really have to do that. So if you get that powder moving, your extinguisher should be fine, but very important. If anyone has mobility issues, or if you don't have mobility issues, I cannot express the importance of keep your exit paths clear. Don't have 50 pairs of shoes in front of your door. Don't put your Christmas tree in front of your front door because you're just not going to use it for this month. You need to have access to get out of your home. Okay, so please make sure every exit is very easily accessible. That's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. That was quite the take-home message. That was good. I'm glad I warned you.
Yes.
So thank you very much, and
yes.
I hope to see everybody next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.